I'm going to be talking about a review article on trade and development. I worked with Dr. David Atkin and Dr. Dave Donaldson from MIT to write this article that surveys existing literature on the effects of international trade on developing countries. Economists have used a large variety of theoretical models and empirical studies to understand the effects of trade on economic agents. Trade and trade policies can have drastic implications on the welfare of consumers, firms, industries, and even countries. And therefore, it is crucial that we develop an accurate understanding of how trade affects these agents. Understanding this is especially important in the context of developing countries. Numerous trade models and historical evidence suggest that trade plays a vital role in boosting the GDP of developing countries. For example, trade can generate employment, increase income, increase product diversification, help in technological diffusion, all of which catalyze growth. However, studies exploring these channels through which trade affects developing countries don't always come to a consensus, and they are often at odds with each other. So why survey the literature on trade and development? Well, there is a huge pool of research done on how trade affects developing countries. And it is important to get a substantial sense of what has been done, what kind of methodologies have been employed, what were the results, why do the results differ, and how can future research be designed, and so on. So in order to decompose existing papers, I organized the papers that I read with their key components, such as the goal of the paper, methodology, identification strategies, and findings and causal results in a spreadsheet, which is shown in the slide. So there were two key channels that we explored on how trade affects developing countries. And we focused on the firms in developing countries. The first channel is productivity, which means how much a firm can produce given a set of inputs. And it has been a well-established fact in development economics that lower TFP is one of the main causes of lower income in developing countries. So the key question that we explored was, do firms learn from new technologies and become more productive when they export internationally? And the main theme of the results that we find is that older studies and studies that focus on developing countries find little evidence of learning by exporting. Whereas newer studies and studies done in developing countries like Vietnam, Ethiopia, and Venezuela find substantial evidence of learning by exporting. So the other channel is misallocation, which basically means that if a firm cannot produce more but has access to more factors, then those factors can be reallocated to other firms who can actually produce more but have no access to more factors. And recent results have shown that resource misallocation can lower aggregate TFP, resulting in a lower income. So the key question that we explored regarding misallocation was that, does trade increase misallocation of factors in developing countries? And the main theme of the result that we find is that in presence of market distortions like subsidies, taxes, and government-owned enterprises, trade can actually increase misallocation. So productivity and misallocation are the two more explored channels in existing literature. And there are other less explored channels through which trade can affect developing countries. And some of them are domestic taxes, international trade, foreign direct investments, all of which warrant further research. So in summary, writing this review article helped us reflect on the effects of trade on developing countries through different channels. It also helped us realize the patterns through which gains and losses of those channels have been studied. And we hope that this article will help researchers understand the under-researched areas of this domain, identify new identification techniques, use experimental and quasi-experimental data sets, and help policymakers who implement trade policies in the future. Thank you.